Have you ever felt a sudden weight lift from your spirit before you understood why? Have you ever sensed that something hidden was happening, even when you had no proof yet? Chosen one. This message is not reaching you by accident. Heaven has brought this word to you because a turning point has arrived. And what was working against you in secret can no longer remain hidden. The woman who smiled in your face while sending poison behind your back has now met divine justice. What she released toward you has returned to its source. What she tried to hide in darkness has been touched by the light of God. This is not being revealed to make you arrogant or bitter. It is being revealed so you understand one thing clearly: God was never absent. He saw every lie, every trap, every quiet act of betrayal. He heard your prayers when you were too exhausted to explain your pain to anyone else. He watched you stay quiet when you wanted to defend yourself. And now heaven is showing you that your silence was not weakness. It was trust. While you were waiting, God was moving. While you were hurting, He was preparing justice. This is not about revenge. It is about divine order being restored. The heaviness, the confusion, the pressure that seemed to follow you without explanation did not come from nowhere. Something was trying to disturb your peace, but it has now been exposed and interrupted. Chosen one, your time has come. Open the heart that pain tried to close. Listen carefully. God is making it clear that this attack will not define your future. His light is already pushing back what tried to surround you. If this message speaks directly to your spirit, comment now, "I receive divine justice." And if you are ready to agree with what heaven is doing in this season, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with another chosen one who needs confirmation tonight. Because this is only the first sign. What heaven is about to uncover, remove, and restore will prove that your next season has already begun. There were nights when you asked God why the pain was allowed to continue, why the betrayal was permitted to breathe for so long, and why the ones who carried darkness seemed so comfortable while you were left carrying the weight of confusion. Chosen one, hear this clearly: heaven was not silent. God was not absent. He did not miss a single moment of what was happening around you. He saw every false smile, every hidden motive, every conversation that tried to stain your name, and every wound that was inflicted in places no one else could see. He saw the tears you never explained. He heard the prayers you whispered when your strength was almost gone. He watched you choose restraint when your flesh wanted to react. And He counted every moment you stayed faithful while the pressure increased. What looked like silence was not neglect. It was divine patience. It was the wisdom of God allowing the truth to ripen until no lie could stand against it. If He had moved too soon, you would have been delivered. But the lesson would not have been complete. If He had answered too early, the exposure would have been partial, and the depth of what was hidden would not have been fully revealed. But God does not work in fragments. He works in fullness. He waits until the appointed hour. And when that hour comes, nothing can stop what He has decided to uncover. That is why you must stop calling this season abandonment. It was preparation. It was the making of your discernment. It was the strengthening of your spirit. It was proof that even when you felt alone, you were being watched over with precision. The same God who allowed you to endure was also recording everything, setting boundaries around what the enemy could do, and preserving you for this very moment. So do not mistake delay for denial, and do not confuse divine silence with divine distance. God was there in every unanswered night, and now He is showing you that nothing you suffered was unseen. And once you understand why heaven allowed the silence, you will stop grieving the delay and start recognizing that God was preparing a response far greater than anything you could have forced on your own. There were moments when you wondered if heaven had gone quiet, when the weight on your chest grew heavier and the answers you needed seemed farther away than ever. You prayed, you endured, you kept your mouth closed when your heart wanted to cry out, and still the pressure remained. Chosen one, hear this with your spirit. Heaven was not silent. God was not absent. Not for 1 second. He saw every false word spoken over you, every hidden motive behind the smiles, every conversation designed to weaken your peace, and every silent wound left in places nobody else could touch. He saw what others dismissed. He heard what you never said out loud. He watched you hold yourself together while the battle around you deepened. What felt like divine silence was never neglect. It was divine patience. God was allowing the truth to mature until exposure would be complete and undeniable. If he had moved too soon, you would have been rescued. But the full deception would have stayed hidden. If he had answered too early, the pain might have stopped. But the lesson would not have been finished. And God does not heal halfway. He does not uncover only part of the darkness. He waits until the appointed time. Then he moves with fullness, precision, and power. That is why this season was not abandonment. It was preparation. It was the shaping of your discernment, the strengthening of your spirit, the refining of your faith. Even in the nights when you thought nothing was happening, God was still setting limits around the attack, preserving your mind, protecting your purpose, and recording every detail for the hour of justice. So do not call this delay rejection. Do not call this silence distance. God was present in every unanswered prayer, every restless night, every moment you thought you had been left alone. And now he is making it clear that nothing you endured was wasted. Nothing you suffered was ignored. And nothing sent against you escaped his sight. Because once you understand that heaven was watching the whole time, you will stop mourning the silence and begin to see that God was preparing an answer greater than anything you could have created for yourself. The exposure has already begun. Chosen one. And this is not ordinary scandal. This is divine exposure. The woman who worked against you in secret is losing the cover she trusted. Her charm is fading. Her control is weakening. The conversations she once steered are beginning to turn. The same people who once accepted her words without question are starting to pause, notice, and feel that something is wrong. What once sounded convincing no longer carries the same power. Because truth has entered the places where deception used to hide. The web of lies is starting to tear from the center. The image she protected is cracking. The manipulation she relied on is losing its grip. But hear this clearly, heaven is not only striking her reputation, heaven is breaking the wrong influence she tried to establish over your name and your path. She tried to touch your peace. She tried to disturb your sleep. She tried to weaken your confidence. She tried to interfere with your destiny. She tried to plant confusion around your life so that others would misread you, doubt you, and slowly accept a false version of who you are. But God has stepped into that pattern now. And once he moves, the direction changes. What touched your peace is being judged. What touched your sleep is being confronted. What touched your confidence is being broken. What reached toward your destiny is being pushed back by the authority of heaven. That is why the atmosphere feels different. That is why the heaviness may already be lifting before your eyes see full proof. Something is collapsing behind the scenes. Something hidden is being overturned. You do not have to defend yourself in every room. You do not have to chase people and force them to understand. God knows how to expose what was hidden without your striving. He knows how to shake a lie until those leaning on it begin to feel it trembling beneath them. He knows how to let contradictions surface. He knows how to silence manipulation by making truth impossible to ignore. Some people will grow quiet. Some will step back. Some will begin connecting the pieces and realize they judged you too quickly. They will see that the one they doubted was the one heaven had been protecting all along. So do not be alarmed if things now begin to shift quickly. Exposure often feels sudden to human eyes. But heaven has been preparing this moment for a long time. God allowed enough time for the pattern to reveal itself fully. Enough time for the fruit to expose the root. And enough time for no one to dismiss what he is uncovering. Can you feel that shift already? The conversations changing? The heaviness lifting? The confusion breaking? Tell me in the comments. The truth is rising. And once the lie loses its voice, heaven does something even more powerful. It begins clearing your path. There are battles you survived that you never fully saw. Chosen one. And that is why you must stop calling your survival ordinary. There were nights when the atmosphere around you felt heavy for no reason. Mornings when your body felt tired before the day had even begun. And moments when peace seemed to slip through your hands no matter how hard you tried to hold on to it. But heaven is revealing something to you now. You were not standing alone in those hours. Archangel Michael stood at the door. While you were trying to understand the pressure, he was guarding what darkness wanted to enter. While confusion tried to circle your mind, he was restraining what had been assigned against your peace. While unseen attacks pressed against your sleep, your clarity, your finances, and your strength, heaven had already stationed protection around you. This is why you are still here. This is why you did not break the way the enemy expected. This is why something inside you kept surviving even in moments when you felt drained, cornered, and close to giving up. God did not leave your life exposed. He set boundaries around the attack. He allowed you to feel enough to grow in discernment, but not enough to be destroyed. And now you are being shown that what tried to reach you was real, but it was never greater than the protection standing over you. What touched your sleep is being cut off. What touched your peace is losing access. What pressed against your mind is being driven back. What tried to feed on your weariness is being denied entry. Chosen one. This is why the atmosphere is changing. It is not only because truth is rising against deception. It is also because protection has been activated in a stronger way around your life. The sword was already drawn before you even knew the battle had reached your door. The shield was already raised before you understood what was pressing against your spirit. Heaven saw the danger before you saw the signs. Heaven moved before you found the words to pray. And that should tell you something powerful. If God fought this hard to preserve you, then your calling carries more weight than the opposition wanted you to realize. You were not attacked because you were forgotten. You were attacked because you carry something the enemy wanted to weaken. But the attempt failed. You are still here. Your purpose is still intact. Your light has not gone out. So do not let fear interpret your past anymore. Let revelation do it. Let heaven explain what hell could not complete. The protection of God has not been symbolic over your life. It has been active, precise, and relentless. And if heaven defended you in the hidden battle, then what is coming next must be greater than what tried to stop you. Chosen one. Hear this clearly. Do not return to what God removed. Do not reopen what heaven has already closed. Do not walk back into the very place God pulled you out of. This is not the season to revisit what drained your spirit, confused your mind, and weakened your peace. What left your life did not leave by accident. What was exposed for a reason. What was cut off because it could not follow you into the next place God is calling you to enter. You may still feel emotion. You may still feel compassion. You may still feel the pull of memory, the ache of what once felt close, the temptation to look back and ask whether it can be repaired. But chosen one, not everything that feels familiar is safe, and not everything that once felt important was meant to remain. Some things were part of a season, but they were never meant to be part of your future. You cannot heal in the same place that poisoned your peace. You cannot rebuild your strength in an atmosphere that trained you to live in confusion. You cannot carry what God has commanded you to release. This is why the warning matters now. God is not teaching you hatred. He is teaching you discernment. He is not calling you into bitterness. He is calling you into boundaries. Forgiveness is holy, but returning without wisdom is dangerous. Mercy does not mean stepping back into the cycle that broke you. Kindness does not mean giving darkness another doorway into your life. After exposure comes temptation. After truth rises, the enemy often tries one more time to pull you backward through guilt, nostalgia, false hope, or emotional pressure. Suddenly you remember the soft moments and forget the damage. Suddenly you feel the urge to explain, fix, to rescue, or reopen what heaven already shut down. But do not mistake emotional pull for divine instruction. Do not confuse pity with assignment. Do not call it love when it is really a chain trying to find its old place around your soul. God removed it because it was touching your peace. God cut it off because it was draining your strength. God exposed it because it was interfering with your calling. And if you return to what he severed, you risk stepping back into the very confusion he just delivered you from. That is why you must stand firm. That is why you must honor the separation. That is why you must stop romanticizing what wounded you and start respecting the hand of God over your life. Chosen one. Be honest. Has God been asking you to release something you still feel tempted to revisit? Has he been telling you to let go, while part of you still keeps looking back? If that is you, comment now, "I will not go back." Let that be your declaration. Let that be your line in the sand. Because the moment you stop reaching backward, heaven makes room to push you forward. You are no longer standing in the same season that tried to break you. The pressure that once delayed your movement is losing its hold, and restoration is beginning to move toward you with purpose. This is not just a moment of emotional relief after pain. This is the beginning of real return. What looked stalled is starting to move. What seemed blocked is beginning to open. What felt buried under delay is being called back into motion by the hand of God. Restoration is not arriving as a small comfort. It is arriving as evidence that heaven has shifted the atmosphere around your life. Peace will begin to settle where tension once ruled. Strength will return where exhaustion used to sit. Clarity will rise in places where confusion tried to cloud your thinking. Doors that would not open before will begin to respond differently. Not because your effort suddenly became greater, but because the obstruction is no longer holding the same power over your path. This is how a new season announces itself. Not always with noise, but with movement. Not always with spectacle, but with undeniable change. You may begin to notice it in simple ways at first: an unexpected opening, a conversation that turns in your favor, a new sense of steadiness in your spirit, a release from the heaviness that once followed you for no clear reason. These are not small things. These are signs that God is restoring rhythm to what battle tried to interrupt. The life ahead of you will not be a return to the same broken place you came out of. God is not restoring the old version of your life. He is building something cleaner, stronger, and more aligned than before. What was taken will not merely be replaced. It will be redeemed. What was delayed will not remain frozen. It will begin to move at the right time and in the right order. This is why you must stop speaking as though everything is still lost. The season has shifted. The resistance has weakened. The path is opening. And what belongs to you is no longer being held back in the same way. Expect movement. Expect relief. Expect signs that what was once locked is starting to yield. Heaven is not restoring you in fragments. It is restoring flow. It is restoring confidence. It is restoring the inner strength that long warfare tried to wear down. So lift your eyes and prepare your heart to receive. What is coming will not feel like survival. It will feel like return. And before the fullness of that reward arrives, there is something even deeper you need to understand. The pain was never random. And the next part will reveal why. What you went through was never meaningless. And it was never random. The betrayal, the delay, the pressure, the misunderstanding, all of it was being used to form something in you that could not have been built in comfort. Pain was not sent to define you, but it was allowed to refine you. What tried to crush your spirit ended up sharpening your discernment. What tried to empty your strength ended up teaching you endurance. What tried to make you doubt yourself ended up driving you deeper into the truth of who God called you to be. This is why you cannot measure your story only by what hurt. You have to measure it by what it produced. You are not the same person who first entered that season. Your eyes are clearer now. Your spirit is stronger now. Your boundaries are wiser now. Your dependence on God is deeper now. What the enemy meant to use as a place of collapse became a place of construction in the hands of heaven. This is the mystery of how God works. He does not waste pain. He transforms it. He takes what was meant to weaken you and turns it into the very material that builds your authority. That is why the attack became more intense before the shift. It was not proof that you were abandoned. It was proof that something significant was near. The darkness pressed harder because your next season was already approaching. And there is a pattern in Scripture that reveals this clearly. Joseph was betrayed, misread, and thrown into places he did not deserve. Yet none of it canceled the purpose of God over his life. The very path others used to push him down became the path God used to raise him up. In the same way, what was meant to bury you has become part of what is lifting you. You are not being erased. You are being prepared. You are not being forgotten. You are being formed. There is a calling on your life that could not remain soft, naive, or untested. It had to be strengthened. It had to be purified. It had to learn how to stand when approval disappeared, when support fell away, and when truth was your only shelter. That is why this pain cannot be dismissed as an unfortunate chapter. It was part of your making. It taught you what peace costs. It taught you what discernment protects. It taught you that not every voice near you is sent for you. Most of all, it taught you that the hand of God can preserve you in places where no human hand could reach. So do not look back at that season only with grief. Look back and recognize what was born in you there. A steadier spirit, a quieter authority, a clearer sense of who you are and what you carry. And once you see that, the story changes. It stops being only about what was done to you and becomes a revelation of what God built through you. And once you understand who you have become, the next part will no longer feel like comfort alone. It will feel like commissioning. Heaven has already spoken. And the verdict over your life is no longer hanging in uncertainty. What was whispered against you has been answered. What was built against you in secret has been reviewed in the courts of heaven. And it does not stand. The accusations lose their power here. The distortion loses its grip here. The lies that tried to cling to your name are being stripped of authority. Because God is not allowing falsehood to write the final version of your story. This is the moment of divine vindication. Not because you fought harder, not because you forced people to see, but because heaven has ruled in your favor. What was spoken over you in darkness is being canceled by light. What tried to stain your identity is being declared void. What tried to delay your path is losing legal ground in the spirit. There are seasons when it feels as if your name is buried under misunderstanding, when the weight of false words sits so heavily that you wonder whether truth will ever rise clearly again. But this is the answer to that hour. Your innocence has not been forgotten. Your tears were not ignored. Your silence was not wasted. God was recording what others overlooked. And now, the ruling is being released. You are not walking out of this season covered in shame. You are walking out crowned with light. You are not stepping forward as someone barely rescued. You are stepping forward as someone heaven has publicly defended. Let that settle deeply into your spirit. The case is shifting. The pressure is breaking. The authority of the lie is collapsing. This is why fear must not be allowed to return. This is why you cannot keep speaking as though the old verdict still stands. It does not. Heaven has answered. The false word is canceled. The spiritual weight behind it is broken. What remains now is not confusion, but clarity. Not accusation, but confirmation. Not defeat, but release. So lift your head. Stand in the peace God has established over you. Let your heart receive the truth that your life is no longer under the shadow of what tried to define it. The verdict has been issued, and it is in your favor. And now that heaven has spoken, there is only one thing left for you to do. Walk forward like someone who knows the ruling has already been made. Now the only thing left is for you to walk forward in agreement with what heaven has already declared. Do not carry the old fear into the new season. Do not speak like someone still trapped when God has already begun to open the way before you. Peace has been restored to you. Protection has been placed around you. What tried to break you did not win, and what tried to silence you did not have the final word. This is your moment to move with faith, not hesitation, with clarity, not confusion, with gratitude, not grief. Do not celebrate another person's fall. Celebrate your release. Celebrate the fact that God kept you, corrected what was hidden, and refused to let darkness write the ending of your story. Let your heart stay clean. Let your spirit stay humble. Let your steps stay aligned with the hand of God. If this word confirms what your spirit has been sensing, then declare it boldly in the comments. My season has changed. And if you are standing in agreement with this message, like this video as your act of faith. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss the next word God may use to strengthen you. And share this message with someone who needs to remember that heaven has not forgotten them. What is ahead of you is not survival. It is restoration. It is clarity. It is movement. It is the visible evidence that God was working even when you thought the silence meant nothing was happening. So lift your head, guard your peace, keep your heart open. The storm did not destroy you. It revealed who has been covering you the whole time. And now the same God who preserved you is sending you forward with peace, with strength, and with the kind of light that darkness can no longer touch.